The Devils are currently first in the Metropolitan Division, and players like Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Stefan Nason, Nico Hischier, Jacob Markstrom have been contributing a lot. But let's not forget about the coaching staff that's put them in this position in the first place. And also, let's talk about the Devils' bottom six scoring, or lack thereof. There's a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Steven stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, Devils are Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. First and foremost, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays to all those who celebrate. I hope you guys enjoyed your time with family, friends, loved ones, exchanging gifts, food, peace, love, joy, all of that from my family to yours. Happy holidays. And I took a few days away to be with my family to celebrate the Christmas season, but we are back into the swing of things. And when this episode goes live, the New Jersey Devils are scheduled to play the Carolina Hurricanes. What's on the docket for today's episode? In the first segment, you know that classic song, Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list. He's checking it twice. He's going to find out who's naughty or nice. Well, I think we at the Devils Discourse know who might be on the nice or naughty list, but I think there's a few people who deserve to be on the nice list, but people are not giving them the credit they deserve. I'll talk about that momentarily. Then in the second segment, the Devils might be in need of some more scoring depth. Obviously, the trade deadline is still a ways away, but this is sort of a glaring issue that I think more people need to talk about. Then in the third and final segment, as we all know, in the previous outing for the Devils, they beat the New York Rangers 5-0 in a dominating shutout victory. Jack Hughes continues to embarrass the Rangers. Jacob Markstrom got his second straight shutout, and a lot of people have been exchanging their respective back and forth on social media. I get it. It's a rivalry, but I want to chime in a little bit because honestly, I just find the debates on social media quite hilarious, and I just wanted to share my quick thoughts to close out this episode. All right, segment one. Santa Claus came to town. He delivered the presents to the good little boys and girls, and I saw some people on social media making their respective lists. Which Devils players are on the nice list? Which players are on the naughty list? So, for example, a player like Curtis McDermott might be on the naughty list because he gets into a lot of fights, but someone like Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, they're always going to be on the nice list no matter what. But I want to chime in a little bit because I just found it somewhat compelling. I think there are a few more people who deserve to be on Santa's nice list for the Devils Discourse, and that's the entire coaching staff. So I'm talking about head coach Sheldon Keefe, Jeremy Colleton, Ryan McGill, Chris Taylor, Sergey Breland, and yes, Dave Rogalski as well. Let me just list you some statistics. The Devils are currently first in the Metropolitan Division. They have a record of 23-11-3. They have 49 points, which is tied with Vegas for the second most. Vegas and New Jersey are just below the Winnipeg Jets, who have 51 points. Remember, the Jets went the longest without losing a game to kick off the season. For any of you football fans out there, you might want to take that clip and repeat it as much as you possibly can, because me saying that the Jets got off to a great start and continue to win, you're probably not going to hear that sentence too often. So there's my Christmas gift to you New York Jets fans. But focusing back to hockey, the Winnipeg Jets, obviously one of the best teams in the NHL, and the Devils are just below them. I think a lot of credit needs to be given to Sheldon Keefe and what he's been able to do ever since joining the Devils. Because when Lindy Ruff got the can, we knew that Travis Green was going to be named the interim head coach. And then here comes the offseason. What's going to happen? Who are the Devils going to hire? Obviously, a lot of people had their respective opinions. Could it be Todd McClellan, who's now with the Detroit Red Wings? Could it be Craig Berube, who's up in Toronto? That was personally my first choice, but Sheldon Keefe became available after the Maple Leafs gave him the can after 5 or so seasons. And once the Devils hired Keefe, I knew the Devils found their correct head coach, because everybody knows that Keefe led the Toronto Marlies to the Calder Cup a few years ago. He was with the Maple Leafs for 5 seasons. The core 4 out there saw great offensive success. They always were one of the best teams in the NHL in terms of regular season success. Come playoff time, different story. But the Maple Leafs did make it out of the first round a couple years ago, thanks to Sheldon Keefe, and that was the first time that had happened since 2004. And now Sheldon Keefe joining the Devils, I think they got off to a pretty good start in Prague, but after that, as the week started to settle, the Devils struggled a bit, but I just said, give it some time, because I talked about it on this show. I wrote an article about it for Pucks and Pitchforks. I anticipated for the Devils to get off to somewhat of a slow start, just because you got a new coach, you got a new system. You know, the players got to adjust to that system. But after weeks went by, the Devils are one of the better teams in the NHL, I would argue. And some of the struggles that the Devils had last season are no longer present. Not saying they're a perfect team, but I think Sheldon Keefe has done a good job leading this team to great success so far. It's still relatively early in the season, not even halfway done. But I think Sheldon Keefe deserves a lot more credit for what he's been able to do. It's one of the reasons why I said I would personally never be a coach, because when things go wrong, Sheldon Keefe will be the first one to receive the blame. But if things are going right, usually the head coach is given the least amount of credit. But while Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, Luke Hughes, Brett Pesce, Jacob Markstrom, while all those players have been great in more ways than one, let's not forget that Sheldon Keefe is putting everything together and he's making this system run. Jeremy Colleton has this team buzzing on the power play. Currently, the Devils have a power play percentage of 32.1. That's second in the NHL. I've been saying it the past couple of years. The Devils have way too much talent to be mediocre or horrendously bad on the power play. A lot of their personnel, teams would give an arm and a leg to have that on their roster. And Jeremy Colleton, especially in that previous game against the Rangers, in which the Devils had 3 power play goals, that's incredible. Ryan McGill, defensively, PK, even strength, doesn't even matter. Devils, one of the best defensive teams in the NHL, I would argue, because when was the last time the Devils sacrificed more than 20 shots on goal? You would have to go back a decent amount of games. The Devils' PK rate is 82.5%, which is 7th best in the NHL. Shots against, the Devils have only seen 922 shots this year, which ranks 26th in the entire NHL. So the Devils aren't seeing that many shots, and I think you got to give credit to McGill in that department. Now, for Dave Rogalski, I know that might be a bit of a controversial highlight, just because people have their strong opinions when it comes to Rogalski and what he's done to his goaltenders the last few years. Like Vitek Vanacek and Akira Schmid didn't really work out. Mackenzie Blackwood didn't really work out all that much. Corey Schneider got off to a good start, but the end of his career with the Devils, very forgettable. We're not going to dwell on the past. Let's talk about the future. Goals against. The Devils rank 27th in the entire NHL. So they're not sacrificing that many goals, and they have a .907 save percentage, which is 8th in the entire NHL. Now, I know a lot of people are going to make the argument and say, well, the Devils goalies don't face that many shots. And you are correct, but I want to reiterate what Sheldon Keefe brought up, which is it doesn't matter if the Devils goaltending sees 12 shots or not. They still got to make those saves, and they're doing that, albeit small number compared to other goaltenders, but they're making the saves when they need to be saved. So I'm just putting that out there. I think the coaching staff deserves a lot more credit. And when you're making your nice and naughty list of Devils personnel, don't forget the coaching staff, because I think they deserve a lot of credit for how far they've taken this Devils team this season. Now, similar to what Jacob Markstrom told me, we're not halfway through the season. A lot can still happen. Knock on wood. Devils have been relatively healthy this season. No big blows yet, and hopefully never will. But they're doing really well. And I just wanted to give the coaching staff their flowers. All right. We're going to talk about the Devils' bottom six momentarily, but before we continue, let me tell you guys about Prize Picks. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your other favorite sports, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks, plus this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out so you can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. I said that Austin Reeves of the Los Angeles Lakers was going to have more than 3.5 rebounds against the Golden State Warriors, and lo and behold, he finished with a triple-double, and he hit the game-winning shot. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay, James Nichols of New Jersey Hockey Now recently published an article highlighting the Devils' bottom six issues. In the article, it included some quotes from General Manager Tom Fitzgerald. I will read you a few of those quotes. Here's the first one. There are certain guys here that are buzzing offensively. When our power play doesn't score or one of our top 4 lines doesn't score, I think we need more from other people. Quite honestly, contributing-wise, without naming any names, there's a reason why we've been shut out 5 times. Because when the first line or second line doesn't score a goal or our power play doesn't score, we don't score. We need guys to step up and start producing. Now, Nichols highlighted in his article that these comments were made by Tom Fitzgerald over a week ago. Since then, Dawson Mercer has contributed a couple of points. However, it still doesn't change the fact that the Devils' bottom six is struggling to produce some offense. But Fitzy added on to it and said, it was great to see Mercer score the other night. Hopefully that'll snowball, but it comes in waves. It really does. And you'll see certain guys jump on the wave and ride that for as long as they can. If you want to hear James's thoughts on the matter, I will leave a link in the description to that article, but I want to share my opinions on the matter because it's something that I have talked about in previous episodes, which is I think the Devils are a little too top heavy. And you sort of saw that when they decided to put Stefan Noesen on the same line as Nico Hischier. Now, I'm not going to say you need to separate Timo Meier, Nico Hischier, and Stefan Noesen. That needs to stay intact because that line has been producing really well. Don't get Noesen out of the groove. Yes, the combo of him, Haula, and Cotter was great to start the year, but I think Noesen is in the correct circumstance, and I don't want to drastically change something when it's not necessary. But the Devils do need some help when it comes to bottom six productivity because let me tell you guys some interesting numbers. Paul Cotter, he has 1 point since November 12th. Eric Haula, his last point was a goal against the Nashville Predators on November 25th, over a month ago. Tomas Tatar, 1 point since November 23rd. Dowling, 24 game appearances, only 3 points, and he's averaging about 8 minutes and 39 seconds of ice time. Curtis Lazar is set to return to the Devils lineup because Sheldon Keefe said he didn't want to rush him and he was going to shut him down until after Christmas. So that might change up a little bit. But even then, Curtis Lazar only has 2 points in 13 game appearances. So the point production is not really there. But here's the thing, and I got to give credit where credit is deserved. Someone like Paul Cotter, and I talked about it in the prior episode, I love the energy that Paul Cotter brings. I said that his scoring is a bonus. And him getting into a fight with Vincent Trocheck, that energized the Devils because a few minutes after that fight, Jack Hughes scored the opening goal. And I was actually talking to Chico Resch about this. Like, look, I know Cotter hasn't really been producing that many points, but look what he brings from a physicality standpoint. He brings energy. He can rack up the hits. Now, Chico said this. That is true, Trey, and that is something that needs to be talked about. However, that's easy to replace because look at someone like Stefan Nason, for example. Nason can rack up the hits. Nason is not afraid to get rough and nasty. Nason is not afraid to go to the dirty areas. He's not afraid to be a net front presence. He can contribute on the power play, but at the same time, he can do the dirty work when necessary, and his offensive numbers are really good. Now, do the Devils need Nason to be a scorer? No, he's not the top option, but it's a bonus when he does score. The point that Chico was trying to make is that Paul Cotter can't go an entire month without producing a point and just make up for it in hits and all that, because that can be replaced. And now come playoff time, when you have to beat the same team 4 times out of 7, that's a major weakness. And you don't want to get shut out in the playoffs because that can really degrade your confidence. So I do agree with Tom Fitzgerald. The Devils do need to look at the open market and see, like, who can you bring from an offensive standpoint? Now, we were having this conversation in the Pucks and Pitchforks group chat, and one name that was quite prevalent in our discussions was former Devil, now New York Islander, Kyle Palmieri, who in 35 game appearances has 12 goals, 13 assists for a grand total of 25 points. Someone of that caliber who can play on the bottom 6, but can contribute in the scoring column every now and again. Palmieri is getting up there in age a little bit. Come February, he will turn 34. So I'm not really sure how I feel about that. But at the same time, I kind of understand what my colleagues are saying, which is for Palmieri, you just need a score. That's all you really need. And I'll probably talk about it in a future episode. But while I'm not really big on Palmieri, I think the Devils have reunited with enough players in Stefan Nason and Tomas Tatar. I understand the direction that people are going in, which is just find someone of Palmieri's caliber to see if they can contribute on the Devils roster, at least on the bottom 6. Because, like I said, Paul Cotter, Eric Haula, Tomas Tatar, Justin Dowling, they've gone lengthy stretches of games without contributing a point. And while they do sometimes do face-offs or work the dirty areas, rack up the hits, similar to what Chico said, that's sort of replaceable. And for the money that some of them are being paid, you need to contribute just a little bit more. But I'll leave that up to you guys. Let me know your thoughts on the matter. Do you think the Devils need to look at the trade market to see if they could get more scoring on their bottom 6? I personally think they do, but they also don't need to break the bank, if that makes sense. I'll talk more about it in a future episode, maybe bring up some other names, not named Kyle Palmieri, but just wanted to put that out there. All right. We're going to conclude with some chatter I've been seeing on Devils and Rangers social medias. Basically, the two teams going back and forth, their fan bases going back and forth, because I want to chime in momentarily. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways to pick up a W. I love betting on which player will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. All right, let me chime in with what I've been seeing on social media. And I got to be honest, I'm no exception. I love poking the bear at times in a respectful manner, just sharing my opinions on how I think Jack Hughes has dominated the Rangers in 29 game appearances, including regular season and playoffs. Jack has 31 points in 29 games. And then someone responded by saying, well, Chris Kreider has more points, but Kreider's not averaging a point per game. And the fact that he has more experience as Jack Hughes, that the math just isn't mathing, if that makes sense. I always say that math is not my strongest suit, but even I know that. But I'm just going to let that one be, because that's not even worth a reply. And that person is ratioing themselves, because you could just look at the comment section. But I just want to chime in here, because people are always saying, like, whether it's Rangers or Devils fans, they're just saying, like, oh, I don't care about the Rangers. Oh, I don't care about the Devils. It's whatever. They won. Accept it. Rangers suck. Or last year it was like, oh, Devils suck. It doesn't matter. I don't care about the Rangers. I'm not tweeting about them. Let me be real here. For both sides, yes, you do care. You care enough to share your opinion on social media with everybody. But that's just the spirit of competition. And one of the things I just want to say is, like, I'm all for friendly banter. I'm all for people responding to my social media feed, but be respectful, because at the end of the day, it's sports, not life. I'm all for friendly banter, friendly back and forth. Obviously, I don't agree with everything the Devils do, and I'm sure if you're a Rangers fan, you don't agree with everything that the Rangers do. That's just the reality of it. Like, why was Chris Kreider a healthy scratch if he sees so much success against the Devils and the Rangers are struggling with a lot of things? That's just my 2-cent opinion. But yeah, that's just what I want to say, which is, I'm all for friendly banter. I'm all for going back and forth. And I think it's somewhat comical. And for anyone who's getting offended with what the Devils posted, which was a floating garbage bin with the Rangers logo, it was on fire. And the Devils social media admin said safe travels across the Hudson River. Look, that's just all fun and games. I'm sure the Rangers would have done something funny too. And also, your guy, Steve Valiquette, said that the Devils, particularly Jack Hughes, play Instagram hockey. So don't dish it if you can't take it. That's my thing. And look, I'm not calling anyone out in particular. I'm not trying to minimize anyone. I'm just saying, like, yes, you do care. Don't act like you don't care. Everyone cares. I care if the Devils win or lose. I love these rivalry matchups, because not only does it do great in terms of viewership and listenership, but I think it sparks a healthy conversation. I love debating sports. I do it for a living. So that's my thing, which is, let's continue to do it and stop acting like you don't care, because you do, but be respectful and don't take it personal. That's it. Anyway, leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. What are your thoughts on the Devils coaching staff, and what do you think the Devils should do come the trade deadline? What do they need to add in your opinion? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Once again, leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X page app at TreyMatt4, or the show's X page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys next episode. Thanks for listening once again.